What's up, Silvertrack Nation, and welcome to session number 46 of the Silvertrack Extra. Listen, today's going to be a little bit different of an episode. We actually have one of our very own customers, Richard Sparks from Global Security Management Agency, on the show to do a customer spotlight. Now, normally we try to keep our episodes between 10 and 15 minutes. This one went a little bit longer just because of how amazing the conversation was. I really think you're going to enjoy it. So I'm not going to waste any more time. We're going to head right into our intro and then jump straight into the featured conversation. I hope you guys enjoy.
Thanks for tuning in to the SilverTrack Extra, your source for the best tips, tricks, and how-tos to dominate the security industry, helping you improve your business, win more contracts, and crush your competition. Here are your hosts, Chris Anderson and Johnny Page.
What's up, Silvertrack Nation? This is Johnny Page along with my co-host Chris Anderson, and today we're doing our second edition of the Customer Spotlight, where we're going to have an amazing guest, Richard Sparks of Global Security Management Agency, on the show. Richard, welcome to the Silvertrack Extra.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing pretty good. We're excited to have you on. I know we've had a lot of conversations off the podcast, and you guys have been doing some amazing things. You've been a customer of SilverTrack for a long time. So today I'd like to just pick your brain and get a little bit of insight into how things were before SilverTrack, what the process was like implementing SilverTrack, and what type of impact it's had on your business now that you've been using it for, I think we're close to like a year and a half now of you guys being SilverTrack customers. Sound good?
Absolutely.
Cool. So Richard, share with us a little bit about your business and how long you've been in operation, what type of industries you serve. Just give us the elevator pitch, if you will, for Global Security Management Agency.
We've been in business since 1993. We are incorporated in California. Our headquarters is in the Bay Area, and we're currently servicing California, Arizona, Montana, and Washington. SilverTrack has been very instrumental for us. Because we have geographically disparate branches, it makes monitoring what's happening at the branch level difficult. So having SilverTrack as a mastered report template and having it as our go-to for every account, large or small, really gives us the ability to have situational awareness almost immediately. It also lets us reach out to our officers.
Now, what were you doing before you had SilverTrack? Describe what your operation looked like on a day-to-day basis before you implemented our software.
Well, we were using Microsoft, and I can't even remember the name of the program now. But we had a customized incident board, if you will, that was all manually inputted from our Fusion Center. So officers would have to call it in over the radio or the phone, and then we'd manually type it in. And then we would print out a semi-report. I call it a semi-report because we'd have to edit it typically to get it in the right format. And then we would fax them off to clients. And since we started using SilverTrack, that process is so simplified. It's amazing.
What started making you look into something like SilverTrack? Were there problems being caused by that process? Did you just feel like there were ways you could improve? Or what kind of sparked your interest to look into something like SilverTrack?
The program that we basically built within Microsoft was old. It was, we literally did it ourselves just using the wizard features in Microsoft, and it would constantly crash on us. It wasn't effective. It was very, like I said, very rudimentary, very simplistic, but it helped us automate a little bit. But it took a lot of man hours and a lot of downtime. It wasn't real time, and it was just not effective for what we needed. And as we continued to branch out into different segments of the security industry, we found that we needed something that we could customize to a client's needs and provide them with reports real time. which means then we don't have to sit there and print reports out or type documents up. We just give them a username and password and let them do it. And we've had some success at that. There's still a lot of clients out there that either don't know, don't want to know, or don't understand why they should print it up. They just want us to send them a DAR. So that, I would say, is probably the biggest issue we still have, is having to generate DARs, even though it only takes a second now to do that, and then you just email it and it's done. But it's a process, and it just takes time to institutionalize SilverTrack with a customer.
Yeah. Now, were you looking into a number of different solutions at the same time as SilverTrack? Like, how did you find SilverTrack, and were you comparing it to a lot of different tools before you made the decision to move forward?
We looked at essentially doing it ourselves. We haven't really seen anything remotely close to SilverTrack, to be honest with you. In fact, I don't even know of who your competitor would be, because what you guys are doing is so unique and so robust. I don't see anyone else coming close to this. I know there are at least half a dozen programs out there used by other companies. But again, they're like ours was. They're very rudimentary. They're not user friendly, and they don't have the capability to actually really customize to a customer's needs. And importantly, because they're so hard to use, the officers don't use them.
Yeah.
So they've got this technology, kind of, but nobody's using it because nobody understands how to use it.
Hey, Rich, let me ask you, on your BDMs or your sales presentations, have you found it a lot easier to sell it to the client based on the fact that it is real-time reporting, based on the fact that it can be more of a tool used for them? Has that been your kind of a sales approach, and have you been successful with that versus just kind of going in the door with a proposal, have them flip to the back page? Does that make sense?
There's two parts to that question. The first part is I finally figured out how to pitch it to a client. It took me, 20, 30 proposals to figure out how to pitch it to a client in a way that actually they'll understand. And actually, what actually did work is the sketch that Johnny put together that's on the website. I made something that looks very similar to that, and that's what I'm actually showing to the client, and they're actually getting it now. That's the first part to it. So the second part is, I haven't really had to pitch it, because most of the calls we're getting because a potential customer talked to an existing customer, or they were chatting over lunch or whatever, complaining about their security, and they told them about us and what we do. And usually the first thing out of their mouth is, "Hey, we want to do business with you, and we understand that you have this technology, and we want some of that." And so I'm like, okay. I'm literally having to slow down right now, because our intake of accounts has just gone exponential.
That's
wow,
awesome.
That's awesome. So you're saying, just to recap for the listeners, you're saying that you implemented the software. It was user friendly enough to where you could roll this out across the board. You found a way to communicate it to your existing customers, and now they are going out talking about it to their colleagues, and you're getting referrals based on what you've done with the technology coupled with your services.
Yeah, essentially.
Wow.
We don't even have a sales guy.
That's awesome. That says enough right there, right?
But Rich, you have to admit, you took some time, and you have to admit you were dedicated to the cause. You dug in and you looked at it. You learned how to drive it, at least in fifth gear. When we talked, I tell people all the time, if you're just going to use it as an accountability tool, you could use another application. This can be such a great tool for your client. And you took time to learn that a little bit, and I think that's where your success is, because you dug in a little bit, and you've done a great job with that.
The key to getting a customer to institutionalize SilverTrack is to explain to them what we call the dyadic benefit. So, for example, we have a gated community. It has 1,000 units, and approximately 3,500 people live in this gated community. It's huge. And we have guys there 24 hours a day, and we're constantly getting calls for everything from kids playing to, auto break-ins to you name it. We're getting calls for it. Now, at the same time, you've got maintenance issues and you've got parking enforcement issues. And their management office, they had, 4 people on the day shift just to answer the phones because there's that many people there.
Yeah.
Now, what we've done is we've got SilverTrack in play, and we've actually built it out all the way out where the officer that's on the site can actually type a license plate of a vehicle in that's on the property, and we'll know if it's a tenant or not. Or if it's a guest vehicle, because we require guests to register their vehicles too. And at the same time, we can do the maintenance and we can do the security issues. And what that's done is the calls to the office have dropped tremendously. The activity is there, and our dispatch fusion centers is busy. But what we're doing now basically is we're screening maintenance calls, we're screening parking complaint calls, and we're dealing with security issues, all for the property management. And that's the dyadic benefit that they get. Now, a smaller community, maybe it wouldn't be as noticeable, but a larger community, this is huge. And we're able to do whatever we need to do online. And we made little flyers, we handed them out to everyone that's a tenant. So they go online and register their vehicles, or if they have a guest vehicle, they let us know. And everything is a lot smoother now. And really all we're doing is kind of driving this bus, but it's in autopilot.
That's great.
Right.
Well, in props to you guys, because I think what Chris was getting at was that you didn't just buy the software and this happened overnight, right? A lot of times we get some, the software is powerful, but it really is a blank canvas, and that you've got to then take it and mold it into something that works for your company and fit it to your customers. So can you walk us through what this looks like? You purchased the software. How did you what was that onboarding process? And when did the light bulb go off to where you really started to make this your own? Kind of just walk our customers through some of the hard work that went into making this what you've made it into today.
Well, it's an investment, and it's an investment because having the software is fine, but you need to have the software, and then you need to engage the software. So what we've done is, so if you were a new client, there's a process that we go through, and it's all designed to feed SilverTrack. So the first thing we do is when we go out and meet with the client, we do a crime prevention through environmental design survey of their facility or property. And the dyadic benefit is they get this assessment and we can tell them what's going on. But more importantly, what we now have is a very fundamental understanding of all the locations on the properties, where tasks need to be put in, where checkpoints should be, and a very strong situational awareness of anything that could happen on that property to create our issue lists. Now, the next step then is we program that in, we get all the resident information, we get all that up, and we're sitting there. We actually do this at the client's office, and they watch us do it. They help us do it. And what that's doing is it's generating a buy-in from the client and all of their staff. Now they understand what's in the system and how beneficial it is to them. The next step after that is we train the officers. Now, most of the officers have already worked with SilverTrack at other properties, so it's just a matter of getting them to understand what account it is and what we want them to do with it. And then the last step is to program the tablet, and we actually buy a tablet, or actually we use Galaxy Note 4s now, because we found out the hard way that while tablets are cool and it's a nice 7-inch screen or 10-inch screen, there is no light for the camera, and it makes taking anything multimedia pointless because you can't see it. So you got to go with the Galaxy Note 4s or your smartphone, or have a really good flashlight to go with your tablet.
Oh, cool.
In any event, yeah. After that's done, then he goes out there and we track it on the incident board, the Dispatch Fusion Center is, and for the first month of service, once a week, our branch manager will go to the client and do an issue summary report and sit down with the client and explain it to them. From there, we just go monthly. So now what happens at the beginning of every month, we sit down with each client and we look at that issue summary and we go through it with them. And they can see the benefit, before they have this DARs, now they can see, look, we had 1,700 issues on your property this month, and this is what they are. And it's very, very effective.
That's incredible. How has that changed your relationship with the customers compared to what it was like before you had anything like this implemented?
What it's done is it's taken us to the next 2 levels of customer service. I say 2 levels because we went up a level when we started doing this, and now we've expanded that even further with how we're interacting with the client. And now we're at a point where it's more of a strategy session on how can we improve on what we're already doing, help them. And they're bringing us into stuff that, quite frankly, isn't really security related, but they're bringing us into it to help them. And so it's creating personal relationships where before there was maybe transactional relationships.
So has your retention been affected by this change in operation, this change in strategy internally for you guys?
Yes and no. Most security officers are between the age of 18 and 35 and are very familiar with smartphone technology, so it's not really a stretch for them to use the tablet. The older security officers, yeah, it's a little more difficult for them, but they're doing it. I wouldn't say that we've lost anyone due to having this technology. And I would say, it makes their lives a lot easier, saves a lot of paper.
You're talking about retention of the officers. I'm talking about retention of your contracts. Are you seeing that there's a higher rate of renewal, or that accounts that you may have lost in the past that you're now retaining because of this quality assurance process that you have in place where you're sitting down with them month to month and there's such transparency involved?
Oh, okay. Well, that's really a simple conversation. We haven't lost any clients.
Yeah, Rich, I was telling Johnny when I had my business, it was so great because I had such a great relationship with him. And like you said, that data, there was nobody that could come in behind and say, hey, we got a better tool. I mean, you had such a great partnership with him, and the data and everything was so set up, and you took the time. Retention is huge, I would imagine. For you, the same.
Absolutely. And it's more than that, too, because there are other companies in Northern California that have Silvertrac. I'm very aware of that. But you know what? I'm not worried about it. And I'm not worried about it because they, too, are losing business to us because they're not using the system the way the system should be used. Or whatever they're doing, it's not the proper implementation to the point where the client is getting a benefit for it.
Yeah, we have to commend you. There's like we say, SilverTrack is a blank canvas, and you can really, what we boast about our software is that the ceiling is very high and that you can customize it and utilize it in hundreds of different ways. So it's going to look different for every company, right? You have to couple that with the hard work, with the just investment into it that you guys have put into it, and you'll get out of it really what you put in. And you guys, that's why we ask you to come on to the customer spotlight, because you guys are doing a great job.
Rich, if you don't mind me asking, because a lot of people want to know, how has the support been with you with other software companies? I mean, we come from the industry, or we came from the industry. Has that been a big help for you during the implementation process?
It's been a tremendous help. And I'll tell you, the only difficulty that we've really had is intaking license plates in mass quantities. For example, a new client intake, it's sometimes time consuming because we just haven't really figured out how to fully automate that intake of resident information. But you guys have been there for us every time that we've had an issue. You've helped us push through a lot of our issues, and I would say that's really our only dependency right now. Is when we have those big intakes, we really don't know how to do that, and that's why we call you. But you guys help us every time.
Yeah. So that you mean as far as the data, them giving you a big Excel sheet of existing license plates versus just having them go on and re-register through your site and bring everything current, right? Sometimes
exactly. Like the last big property we had intake, there was 44 pages of vehicles.
Sure.
I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, sure is.
So a couple of little details here I like to include on the customer spotlights because they're two questions that pop up quite a bit. Real quick, are you using SilverTrack as a value add or do you use it as an upsell?
I would say it's a value add, and not even really. If you have to categorize it, I would say value add, but we don't treat it that way. We treat it as this is the standard. If you're looking for, accountability and you just want to know where the guard is, go get a DTEX. But if you truly want real-time reporting and you want a system that is not 100% bulletproof but 95% bulletproof, then we're your guys. Because we'll give you the situational awareness, we'll give you all this, and to us, that's the standard.
So you include it with every account, whether they're working 5 hours a week or 500 hours a day. It's included in the contract.
Yeah, I mean, it's not part of the contract. It's this is what we do.
Great.
Every officer uses SilverTrack. Sorry, every officer uses SilverTrack, regardless of where they're at or what they're doing, and that's how we do all of our reporting.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, you've made it your own, Rich. You can call it Global Track because that's what you've done. You're doing that and you're going that way. So sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, last question. Do you guys use company phones or the bring your own device? I think you referenced having to do tablets. Did you consider the bring your own device model and just decide that it was better to do company phones? Where are you kind of at on that?
We did both, actually. And so, for example, let's be realists, okay? It doesn't make sense for me to buy a $700 Galaxy Note 4 for a client that I only bill maybe $400 a month. But if I have all my officers have smartphones, so I let them do the bring your own device in that case. And the way we set it up is we set it up by branch. So depending on which branch you work for within the organization, then you're able to access any customer in that branch as a security officer. And it's designed that way so that if there's an emergency or we have to surge at a specific spot, anyone who's an employee of that branch can work at any account, and they're trained at that account, and they can get on the global SilverTrack and just use it.
That's great. Now, before we hop off the call, what would you say, any last recommendations, input to a company out there that's maybe considering using SilverTrack or still on the fence of making a leap to using a software solution to displace the old written reports and accountability tools that are out there?
Yeah, my suggestion to them would be, one, to do it, and two, to prepare to do it, because it is an evolution in your business. It takes you from, the 90% of the companies out there that probably are still using some form of paper accountability to a, virtual real-time reporting system that actually does provide situational awareness. And it requires retraining of officers, it requires retooling of dispatch, and it requires having the ability to capture the right information from each client in a very rapid manner. Because if you don't, you're going to spend all your time collecting information, and then that information is no good.
have you noticed that you've been able to keep your guard rate? In other words, not too much having to lower your rate walking in with a tool like this, right? And I imagine you'll be able to kind of keep your rate at a pretty good rate without giving the store away.
Yeah, absolutely. And a generic example. So in a region in California that is has very low inflation and very low pricing, we're actually coming in about $4 over the threshold, and we're winning accounts. And more importantly, people are coming at us, at our accounts, with literally $4 an hour or less, and the client's not even interested.
That's great.
That's awesome. Well, Rich, keep up the good work. You guys certainly have a good thing going. We're just happy to be a part of your story and what you guys are doing. So we genuinely appreciate you coming on and sharing the feedback. It's not something a lot of owners would be willing to do, to come and sort of open the book and show what's working. It says a lot about your confidence and your ability to step up and deliver for your customers. So we really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much, guys.
SilverTrack Nation, I know that was a little bit longer than usual, but I hope that you really enjoyed hearing Rich's feedback and getting a little bit of insight into what we do here for all of our customers at SilverTrack. So if you were listening to the episode and you found yourself wondering if SilverTrack might be a good fit for you, I'd like to personally invite you to see a demo of our software. Hopefully now that you know that we're invested in this, we genuinely like what we do, and we love hearing stories like Rich's. We'd love to make that a story that's real for you, and the first step to doing that is to hearing a demo. So go to silvertracksoftware.com and then click on the schedule a demo link in the top right hand corner, and we'll get together personally and show you what we can do to help make this a reality for your business. As always, there's some great written content over at silvertracksoftware.com/46 in the show notes section for this episode. Be sure to check that out. You can also subscribe to updates to make sure that you don't miss an episode. We'll go ahead and shoot you an email every time we release a episode so that you don't miss out. Well, guys, I'm Johnny Page. I was joined by Chris Anderson, and today we featured our conversation with Richard Sparks. This was the SilverTrack Extra, and we will talk to you next time.
This has been another episode of the SilverTrack Extra. For more insider information, visit silvertracksoftware.com/extra. Listen on the go by subscribing in iTunes. Want to hear your questions answered on the show? Visit silvertracksoftware.com/questions to submit your requests.